Bad Blood 2024 is all said and done, and fans are very divided online about how good the show was. In today's video, I'm going to be diving into what went down on the show and give my thoughts on it as well. If you guys enjoyed the video, please be sure to leave a like and hit subscribe for more wrestling content. The night opened with what you'd expect any classic Hell in a Cell match to be, which was a bloodbath between two guys that clearly hated one another. Triple H said it best in the press conference that when two guys causes way too much chaos, Hell in a Cell is the only solution. And that was the true vision that Hell in a Cell used to be when it was first created. Ever since the introduction of the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, that concept has completely lost its meaning and more felt like a match that would happen just because it was that time of the year. A few occasions, that pay-per-view even held 3 Hell in a Cell matches on the same night, which devalued the meaning of it even more. But Triple H has 100% restored the Hell in a Cell concept, and CM Punk and Drew McIntyre delivered one of the best Hell in a Cells that I've ever seen live. It gave us grueling, cringeworthy spots and blood that we haven't seen on WWE TV in I don't even know how long. The match went about 31 minutes, and Punk once again looked fantastic in this match, not missing a single beat, and once again playing up to his strengths at the current age he is. This is now the third singles match Punk had without getting injured, and I think most fans can now be less fearful of an injury happening again. Hopefully we'll now get Punk being a little bit more active, maybe even starting to wrestle on Raw here and there. Punk landed up picking up the win with a brutal GTS with the chain wrapped around his knee. So where we go from here, I honestly think it would make no sense for both guys to remain on the same roster. I really think Drew should be traded to SmackDown for AJ Styles to come over to Raw, because I really do think there's way more for AJ to do on Raw than there is for him to do on SmackDown. And as for Drew, he would be a good option to eventually feud with Cody for the WWE title, or even LA Knight for the US title. And then for CM Punk, he already teased a match with Gunther, and I think that would be a perfect Survivor Series match, and is 100% a personal dream match of mine and many others. Nia Jax versus Bayley was the match I knew would be the second match of the night, which made me feel so bad for them having to follow Punk and Drew. This match did make the most sense to be second though, because this definitely had the least amount of hype, as it was just a glorified rematch from SummerSlam. And if I'm honest, I didn't really much care for it either. This unfortunately was full of mistakes, and because of that, it made it seem sloppy. The funniest spot was when Nia fell flat on the ref though. As many predicted, Tiffany Stratton came running out with the briefcase and once again teased a cash-in. But just as it looked like she was going to hand over the briefcase to the ref, Nia sat up full-blown Undertaker style and caught her red-handed. This obviously made Tiffany Stratton decide not to cash in and ended up helping Nia get the victory, retaining the championship. I honestly think this match would have been far better off with a successful cash-in from Tiffany, because I do think the fans are ready for it, and more importantly, I think Tiffany herself is ready for it. But Triple H loves playing the long game, and I think that's going to come eventually regardless. Damian Priest versus Finn Balor was something I think most of us were anticipating after SummerSlam, but has since sort of lost its luster, and I think that was evident with the match they had. The crowd still seemed to be more quiet than they should have been, and I'm not so sure we got the proper levels of hate between them that this feud needed, so that it would be considered one of the bigger matches of the night. If they focused more on these two and done more than just one back and forth promo, I think this would have been built up more, and I think this would have benefited with a stipulation. I've said it before, I think WWE should have brought back the first blood match for Priest versus Balor. A regular singles match I think brought down the intrigue fans had for this, and it was booked like a stereotypical Judgment Day related match, where just as Priest was about to win, out came the rest of the Judgment Day to only then be fought off. It felt very formulaic to me, and I didn't really much care for Priest winning, as it now feels like he got his revenge on Balor, and I don't really care to see them go one-on-one again because of that. I also felt like Balor came off very weak, and honestly the Judgment Day as a whole came off really weak, which is a criticism fans have had for a month and a bit now, and understandably so. What Priest and Balor did on a technical aspect though was decent enough, but I don't think this match felt like a PLE worthy match. It was at this point we got the huge announcement Triple H had, and I say that sarcastically because what was actually announced was very disappointing and even got boos from the crowd when Triple H revealed what it was. Triple H revealed that at Crown Jewel, both the men and women holding world titles will go one-on-one, and the winner of those matches will become the inaugural Crown Jewel champion, which is very weird looking if I'm honest. Nobody really asked for this, and while it's cool Gunther versus Cody is probably going to be the match we'll get on the men's side, side, on the women's side, I certainly hope we don't land up getting Nia versus Liv Morgan. I feel like this is a downgrade for the Saudi shows, especially because they only just recently started to feel like regular PLEs and not just a house show like they used to feel like. I personally feel this move is going back to the old feeling the Saudi shows used to have. The fans were expecting mid-card women's belts, or at least one mid-card women's belt, and unfortunately it was not it. We then got Gunther coming out to randomly confront Goldberg, who was sitting in the crowd for the whole night up until then. Goldberg eventually went over the barricade to confront Gunther, but just as he was about to get in the ring, Sami Zayn came running out to attack Gunther himself, to build interest for their match on Raw. I 100% think we'll be getting Goldberg and Gunther squaring off at some point at a Saudi show, which will bring back PTSD of a certain match that happened involving Goldberg. We then lead into Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley with Dominic in the shark cage, and a quick overall explanation of this match was a confusing and disappointing finish with a returning Raquel Rodriguez helping Liv pick up the win, and most likely joining the Judgment Day. Where the confusion and disappointment comes from is the fact the crowd didn't even really seem to know who Raquel was, which wasn't the big impactful return WWE was hoping for, I think, and the fact that it ended in a disqualification. I'm not so sure WWE should be ending PLE matches in a disqualification. Other than that though, I really do think Liv and Rhea have amazing chemistry together, and I think Rhea always makes Liv seem way better than she really is with her excellent selling. It was also pretty funny to see Dom up in the shark cage looking terrified and covering his ears when the crowd would chant Dom sucks. Where I think we go from here is one more match between Liv and Rhea, where ultimately I do think Rhea will finally get back her Women's World Championship. I also think Raquel joining the Judgment Day is a great move because the whole point of the Judgment Day is to elevate others. So hopefully the same thing can happen for her, just as it happened for Rhea Ripley. First though, I think WWE needs to gain more credibility for the new version of the Judgment Day before that can happen. Finally, we have Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu versus Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes. Now overall, I did like this match, but I can't not talk about how hilarious everything came off at the beginning of it. I found both Cody's and Roman's entrance to be just simply unnecessary and overproduced. And as for Cody's entrance specifically, honestly, just very cringe. There was also a mistake with Cody's theme song playing twice, and it even looked like Cody himself cracked a smile about it. Michael Cole even made a hilarious statement that this was Cody's most important match of his career, which can't be any further from the truth. The match finally started and it was a very fun tag team match, and it was awesome to see Roman back since WrestleMania and work a match as a babyface rather than a heel as the tribal chief character. Another standout for me was definitely Jacob Fatu continuing to show everyone why someday he'll be a future WWE champion. This match really picked up when everything started to get chaotic, with big spots like Cody removing Jacob Fatu from a huge splash through the announce table. The big point of the match though was the long-awaited return of Jimmy Uso, who showed up after Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa made their presence known. Jimmy made it clear he's still on Roman's side by super kicking Tama Tonga, flattening him out, and he would eventually help Roman pick up the win over Solo. After they celebrated and embraced, they both left the ring to leave Cody in the ring by himself, where Solo and the rest of the bloodline attacked him. Jimmy then convinced Roman to go back to the ring to help Cody out since he gave him his word that he has his back. They cleared them all from the ring, and right as you'd expect the show to end, out came The Rock, making his long-awaited return as well. He left a mystery as to whose side he's on, but chances are, he's on Solo's side. He didn't really do much other than stare at them in the ring, but it didn't take anything away from seeing The Rock come back. Where does Roman go from here? Well, I think he's definitely not finished with Solo yet, and I would love to see Bloodline versus Bloodline inside War Games at Survivor Series. Is that 100% what we'll get? I'm not so sure because a part of me doesn't feel like The Rock would be in a match like War Games, but I don't think there's a better War Games match to do this year. As for Cody, it seems like he's going to be stepping away from the Bloodline for a while because it was revealed off air that Kevin Owens attacked Cody by his tour bus. This to me was very shocking and actually a very cool way to turn Owens heel. The only available footage of it right now is fan footage, and WWE has yet to acknowledge it. Now overall, I enjoyed the show for what it was, but I can't lie and say it was everything I expected it to be, because after the opening match, the entire show sort of just took a huge quality dip, and I think the main reason for that was the fact Drew vs. Punk opened the show and already tired out the crowd for the rest of the night. I really do think it was a miss for this to not main event the show. Another thing that became apparent to me very quickly is that Triple H's constant need to have 5 matches on B-level PLEs doesn't always need to be just 5 matches. I think it's appropriate to have 5 matches when every singles match has very high levels of hype from the fans, but for Bad Blood, I'm not so sure Bayley vs Nia Jax, for example, had a ton of hype around it. It felt like it was built around anticipating a cash-in from Tiffany Stratton, which is something we didn't land up getting. I think that brought the show down a little, as it seemed to really disappoint the crowd. I also think Gunther vs Sammy for the World Heavyweight Championship should have been added to this card instead of Raw, just to give Jey Uso vs Xavier Woods for the IC title a little more attention. Regardless though, the Hell in a Cell match between Punk and Drew and the main event made the show worth watching, while everything in the middle wasn't the best, and I'd say the show was a 6 out of 10 because of the opening match and the return of The Rock. But those are my thoughts on Bad Blood 2024, and if you guys enjoyed the video, please be sure to leave a like and hit subscribe. Thanks, and take care.